Now, it is highly deceiving because we often get deceived with the kind of impact factor which people are talking about. And if you see, we need to have an understanding that what is the meaning of impact factor. In very simple words, impact factor is the frequency, which actually it is the average articles cited from a journal. So it is based on a simple formula that how many times the articles from a journal is cited divided by number of documents. So this is the formula. So number of citations divided by number of published articles within a time frame. So for some agencies, it is 3 years time frames. For some agencies, it is 4 years time frame. But there are only two agencies in the world whose impact factor is considered to be authentic, genuine, and reliable. And they are the site score by Elsevier that we know as Scopus, and the second one is called Journal Citation Report by Clarivate Analytics, which we refer as Web of Science. And the formula for each one of them, for either of them, is the same. It is number of citation, that how many times the total number of papers are cited, divided by number of published articles. This is called impact factor. Based on the impact factor, the journal matrices is prepared, and that is the where we call the Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 kind of journals. So this is where the journal comes into picture. Now, those of you who are trying to publish for your early career researcher, or you want to try to publish in a good journal, always try to target a Q1 journal for one reason, because they give you feedback. Most of the Q1 journal, they give you feedback. Even if your paper is not prepared, if you want to try yourself, if you really want to get a breath. But if you want to have a really rational approach, try to have a right evaluation of your paper. Try to get a mentor who is going to evaluate. Try to have a senior professor who is going to evaluate, and they are going to guide you that in which journal you are going to publish. There is no shortcut. Many times people, they approach me, they say, we are willing to pay money, we are going to do this. And the moment somebody asks you for money before accepting your paper, it's the first red flag that you need to understand. So we will talk about it later. So this is one thing. This next chapter, that is about the preparation of your paper. Now, what we are going to do when we are preparing ourselves for a journal. So first of all, we have to identify a journal. The second thing is we have to see that we contribute a relevant paper for that journal. So it's very simple that we try to understand, we try to decode the journal's expectations. It is very simple. There is no rocket science associated, but fulfilling the expectation is important. So the first thing is that we try to read the author's guidelines very carefully. What is the structure? What is the length? What are the formatting? What are the citation style? Whether I know the citation style or not. Many of us, what we do is that we are overly dependent on the citation or reference management tools like Mendeley or the Citavi, etc. What happens is many times they are not as per the requirement of the journal. And there are high chances that just because we have not followed the journal's requirement, our paper might get rejected. Try to see the methodological expectations of the journal, whether they are more looking to the qualitative research, they're more looking to the quantitative research or the mixed method research. You also have to understand that the journal's administration keeps on changing. The moment the editor-in-chief gets changed, there are high chances that a journal which was highly into a qualitative research suddenly switches into a quantitative research or suddenly switches into a mixed method research. You also have to see that many times it is the journal's regulations. They are going for call for paper. Try to see whether there is an open call for paper or they are very specific about the specific theme in the call for their paper. So if these things are taken care of, you are preparing yourself, you are aligning yourself towards the journal. There is something which we call as reviewers. Many a times we don't give any sort of consideration to the reviewers. Try to see what are the instructions for the reviewers, because your paper will be sent for reviews and your reviewers will follow the same instructions. And you need to see that reviewers, whatever criteria has been sent to the reviewer, your paper is fulfilling all those criteria. So there are other things as well, which is the theoretical depth, contribution, and rigor, etc., which we'll not be talking much in detail because of the paucity of time, but we'll try to see what we can do for a journal. So what happens is that when we are going for a journal, The first thing is that we need to position our problem statement that fits the journal's narrative. Now, for example, it is the Journal of Emerging Markets, and we are talking about a context which is US or a developed economy. Now, when the context itself is emerging market, we are going to talk about an emerging market. If you are choosing an emerging market within US and you're able to justify it, it still makes sense to me. So when we are trying to identify our problem statement, we'll try to fit the problem statement with the journal's narrative, whether it is fulfilling the journal's requirement or not. Now, please understand, you are a supplier for the journal. Journal needs to look for the buyer who is going to buy your product. So when as the author we are supplying something, we need to help our retailer, that is the journal, that they are able to sell our writing properly. Now, when this is happening, what happens is that every journal has a set readers base, and we will try to identify that whether we are able to address to the requirements of those readers or not. So whenever we make a paper, always try to see that who will read that paper, because many times we see that the paper gets published but there are no readers for it. There are many papers which get published in top ranked journals, but still if you see the citation score, it is not even in 2 digit, which means that the paper was not able to make a real impact, and that is the reason citation plays a so important role. We try to see that how the journal literature has been developed. We try to see that what are the common theories that a journal follows, and we try to build up ourselves around those theories. I'm not saying that try to copy exactly the same theory. We will try to see that what we can add to those theories which is usually discussed in the journal. If you are able to write a paper which actually contradicts with the finding of the journal, that somebody published a paper and your findings is actually contradicting with the finding which somebody else has published in the same journal, the editors are welcoming those kind of ideas, because that is going to be a healthy discussion, a healthy academic discourse that we talk about. So we try to integrate the conceptual framework of the journal. We try to see that how we are theoretically, we are very sound, we are grounded, because most of the time the paper which gets rejected, it gets rejected because of the literature review. I still remember there was one journal, it is again Q1, for which I wrote, and they said that the paper looks excellent, but the theoretical foundation is missing. And this theoretical foundation needs to get strengthened. So you need to see that how the theoretical foundation is strengthened for your journal. Let's start with the first thing. There is a problem statement which is appearing on your screen. I will give you maybe 20-30 seconds of time. Just have a read of it and tell me whether it is a good problem statement or not.